Well, welcome everyone to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the new Japanese action film, Demon City, which is currently on Netflix. I jumped into this film sitting at home, couldn't find anything to watch. Well, there were things to watch, but I was just looking for something that I can have on in the background while I walk around and do some chores, And normally I click on Netflix for that type of atmosphere to set the vibe for my honeydew list. So I decided to click on Demon City. It looked kind of interesting. The little poster that they popped up on the screen when I was scrolling. I was like, okay, let me check this out. Had no idea what it was. Never heard of it. Didn't didn't know what it was about. I figured it was an action film, and I was in the mood for something a little upbeat. I've been watching a. I haven't watched a real good action movie in a while, and it didn't dawn on me till I clicked on this movie. And so I clicked on it just to see what it was about. I was going to sit down for the first 5-10 minutes of it, then, start my honeydew list and have it on in the background. I found myself sitting there for the entire film. The plot of this film: framed for his family's murder and left for dead, an ex hitman will stop at nothing to exact revenge on the masked quote unquote demons who have taken over his city. This is a, I guess you can say, Japanese John Wick ripoff film. And I'm saying that in the highest respect I can give it. It isn't a, pure ripoff of John Wick. This isn't somebody killed his dog after his wife died and he goes on a rampage. No, it's not that. This is more of a homage, if you will, of that subgenre of action films. Now, to be completely fair and honest with everybody, I'm not going to attempt to say the names of the actors and the filmmakers behind all this because I would butcher it and I don't want to disrespect anybody. So it's, I'm just going to say the actor, the lead actor, or the filmmakers and stuff like that. If you want to know their names, you can look up their names and attempt to sound them out, if you will. But I don't I don't want to do it to them because I want to give them their respect. This is a uh, decent action film. This is a pure turn your brain off action movie. No substance. There's there's no substance in it. It's just an action film, but it's fun. It's very fun. The film, it is packed with gruesome. I mean, gruesome action-packed fights. Very gory kills throughout. I mean, it starts off with that a huge action sequence where we see our lead actor um executing a hit on this compound, and he's taking out these henchmen one by one. Each death is more gruesome than the next, and it really sets up what we're in store for this entire film, or at least for the rest of this film. Like, okay, we're starting off with a bang. That's a plus. That's what hooked me and kept me in my seat for the entire viewing of this film. I believe that this film is based on a manga. I'm not 100% sure. I know there's a manga called Demon City, and I'm not familiar with it, so I couldn't really connect the two. That's why I'm guessing it's adaptation of that manga. Whether it is or it isn't, this is an enjoyable film. The fight choreography, the stunts, the effects are exciting. Very fantastical. It shows you pretty early on that this is kind of a heightened sense of reality type film. With people getting punched and they're flying through doors and flying across the rooms with one punch and all this other stuff. So it's kind of fantastical. But that's the film. It's set up that way, and it's set up that way early, so it's not taking you off guard when it happens in other portions of the film, this is the type of movie that it is. And for that, I accepted it what it is. I suspend disbelief and I rolled with it. And I had fun with it. Fans of action and revenge thrillers will likely enjoy Demon City, for its intense action sequences. Anything else, if you're looking for intriguing plot lines, stellar acting, you're not so much going to get that here, especially the version I watched, the dub version, the English dub version. You really can't get a sense of the acting because they're dubbed over. The voiceovers, how they deliver the lines, with the passion and the fire. I, so I can't really judge the acting here. I can only judge it by what I see and not what I hear. And unfortunately, it kind of takes away from the film as far as quality is concerned. But the plot is pretty basic. I mean, it reminded me of an old, I think late 1980s or maybe early 90s action film starring Steven Seagal, if you recall it. Hard to Kill, which is my favorite Steven Seagal film with Kelly LeBlanc in it. He, he's a cop and he gets undercover cop or something like that, and he gets discovered, and these henchmen come to his home and uh kill his wife and shoots him. He ends up being in a coma for years, and when he awakes, he exacts revenge on those who killed his family and whatnot. Pretty much the same exact plot of this film, but done in a different way, I guess you could say. Um, it didn't have the oomph of Hard to Kill that we got back in the, I want to say 1990, 91 when that film came out. It didn't have the weight of that, but it still kept you interested. It was enough plot to drive this film along. And then you have a couple of twists and turns in there. Most of them you see coming because if you're a fan of the action genre, this isn't your first rodeo. We'd been down this road before. We we experienced it before. But you watch this movie for the action. You watch this movie for the choreography, and it has some really, really brutal action scenes in here and some exciting ones as well. Our lead actor here, he does a really good job of carrying the weight of why he's on this revenge tour and doing it without speaking much because he didn't have many speaking lines, at least in the English dub version that I watched. But he had a tall task of conveying his emotions through his actions and through his facial expressions and his looks and things of that nature. And I thought he did an excellent job of that. Ultimately, I fairly enjoyed this film. This was a fun film to watch, for what it was. And what more can I ask for? Demon City, which is currently on Netflix, gets a letter grade of a C plus. Yeah, it was a decent action movie. You know, it, the reason I reviewed this film is because I haven't seen a good action movie in months. And I thought about it while I was sitting there watching the movie. I'm like, man, I haven't seen any kick butt, real good action movies in a while. Uh, Love Hurts kind of hurt me. you know, Flight Risk. I guess that was an action movie. I don't know. It wasn't that good. Back to Action with Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz. Nah, it was an action movie, I guess, but it wasn't all that. But as far as an action movie, I mean, a turn your brain off. Don't care if it's good or not. You just want to be entertained. I haven't seen that in a while. Maybe the last one was another next Netflix film from a couple of months ago. That was Flight, not Flight Plan. The movie with Taron Egerton and Jason Bateman. Well, what was that movie? It came out around Christmas. Carry On, Carry On. That was the last really good action movie that I saw, and it wasn't action packed. You know what I'm saying? Like this movie is, but I enjoyed that film, and I enjoyed this one. I would love to know, did you check out Demon City? Are you into these action films, these revenge thrillers, if you will? And coming from across the pond, as they say over there in Japan, it was a good movie. It was exciting. I want to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars and the reviews and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Netflix new action-packed revenge thriller, Demon City. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.